As they go to the turn out of the straight, there's a possum in the box. Can you believe it? I've never seen this in my life. Get rid of it, quickly. Oh!
Again, I give Paul Mahoney minus points there.
Brought to you by punters.com.au. You're listening to Hold All Tickets. G'day and welcome to Hold All Tickets, the official podcast of punters.com.au. We've got two Group 1 races to look forward to this weekend. Of course, Tancred Stakes Day at Rose Hill. And with Group 1 racing comes a Group 1 podcast, and we've got a ripper lined up. We've got our usual yay or nay. We've got a post-race experts. We'll be previewing all of the action pretty much across the east coast of Australia. We've got a brand new Lays segment, and we've got just a couple of people who may have taken some bait, and we'll get to that very shortly. I'm Jack Fitzpatrick. My partners in crime, James Lamb and Nick Lukanook, are joining me. And how are we this April Fool's Day, lads?
Very good, thank you, Fitzy.
It's very good, Fitzy. Beautiful sunny weather out there, so looking forward to some Group 1 racing in Sydney.
Hard to believe we're getting Group 1 racing in Sydney on dry tracks. We'll come to that a little bit later because, Lammy, I want to talk to you first. You threw out a bit of bait this morning with a news article on the idea that Peter V'landys is taking on the Melbourne Cup and going head-to-head. Now, of course, it was for April Fool's Day, but quite a few took the bait and didn't catch on early enough.
Quite a few. More than I thought, to be honest, Fitzy. When I was writing it up quite late last night, I thought the gag might fall pretty flat. But yeah, a few people took the bait and a few people got really fired up. PVL was on the receiving end of a few nasty comments, which I'll get to. I won't name names because I don't want to embarrass individuals, but these are some of the best or most outrageous responses to the Harbour Cup announcement. This is one of them from Twitter. PVL truly is a piece of dung. The Harbour Cup, ? Get absolutely effed. And that was followed up with checks the date, ... two good punters. So in fairness to him, he kept the tweet up. So he stood by his original tweet, which good to see. Yep. This bloke, he may or may not have deleted his tweet, and I can only read out part of it because PVL might sue us if I read out the whole thing. But
right.
He replied with a totally indefensible move that can't even be dressed up as anything other than racing terrorism. As I said, I'll skip past the middle. A terrible day for Australian racing. So that particular punter was not happy with PVL's fake work. Another comment here. Restricted to Australian stayers. What a massive flog. Will be like a country cup for $5 million. Yet can't fix tracks, and they have two trainers winning all the races in Sydney. Another one here. All this clown is doing is denying people the chance to see all the good horses race against one another. Splitting the talent between states makes for two ordinary races. So he doesn't think the Melbourne Cup and the Harbour Cup can go side by side.
Yeah.
And the final one, and this was a bit of back and forth on our Facebook page. This whole New South Wales versus Victoria battle is getting out of hand. It's obvious V'landys is anti-racing, as this is just stupid. In all seriousness, if he thinks trainers are going to choose that race over the Melbourne Cup, he has rocks in his head. The Harbour Cup will be a bunch of B-graders. Someone replied with, check the date, pal. An old mate thought he was talking about the date of the Harbour Cup. So he said, the horses can't run in both races, so what's your point? And then another person chimed in with April Fool's boss, and he replied with, oh, got me, which attracted a lot of likes. So he owned up to it. He stood by his original cock-up, which was good.
He's been given boss and pal in two messages.
Yeah, if he went again, Champ was up next. So he avoided getting champed. He got palled and bossed, which is never good.
At least he owned up to it. Nook, you being the resident New South Wales man in the office, you would be all for this if it was real, I'm imagining.
It was very good by James Lamb because there is, it could be in the realms of possibility the Harbour Cup, but there was, of course, a slight giveaway, and that was it being only $5 million. That's a bit of loose bus change up there. We don't don't race for that sort of coin. So thinking around the 15 million for the Harbour Cup would be nice. But yeah, PVL might take it on board.
There were a lot of people that were actually in favour of banning the international
Australian only. Well, was it Richard Friedman or one of the trainers out there was liking the idea of it restricted to Australian gallopers. So.
It's a bit
Not sure if
snobby,
it's Richard. Apologies if it's not you.
No, I remember reading that somewhere, but I can't remember who was in favour of it.
All it is just saying the good horses can't race in it. It's just the way we breed them and train them. Of course they can't win. Anyway, that's the topic for another day. Well done, Lammy. Very good by you.
Thank you, Jack.
Probably better than the alternate offering that we were considering this morning that Dave Hocking decided to throw up as a possibility.
Yeah, we were tossing up a couple of options last night. We might just keep that one up our sleeve for a rainy April Fool's Day.
There is no April Fool's close enough where that will be a good idea to put up the idea that was floated this morning. I'm not going to reveal it because if there's enough demand through the people that want to know what Dave Hocking's idea was, maybe we can release it. But look, if we have to use it in 12 months' time, we have to use it in 12 months' time. But no, well done, Lammy. It was good stuff.
Yeah, it'd be pretty grim if we do have to use that next year. But
pretty grim is an understatement. Pretty grim is an understatement. On that note, yay or nay? How confident are we feeling, boys, with our yay or nay this week?
No,
not confident. Haven't put a whole lot of work into my yay or nay this week. I've had a few other things on my plate.
Right. Okay. Actually, that reminds me. Sorry, before I go, I do know this. This is actually true. I don't know if you guys will believe me, but do you know the origin of April Fool's Day? Before we move on.
No, I don't.
No.
So I don't know who the monarch was, but my understanding is it goes back to however long ago, 500 years ago plus, where they switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, which is what we now use. And the date they decided to change was April 1st. And people who didn't make the change over were referred to as April Fools.
There you go. Fitzy's little history lesson.
Yeah, new segment. Going back through time with Fitzy.
I've got plenty of useless stories like that, actually, origin for sayings and things like that. But yeah, I'm pretty confident that that's the origin of April Fool's Day.
Could be a bonus pod.
I could be proven wrong. If someone does know better, then please tell me. But I'm pretty sure Julian to Gregorian calendar, people who didn't change over, yeah, they were April Fools. So there you go, boys.
It's my one thing I've learnt today.
It's illuminating.
Happy to help. Happy to help. Anyway, yay or nay, we'll get back to it. Now, speaking of something that you learned, look, I really liked your article that you put out earlier this week on the back of some, let's say, inflammatory comments by Glenn Boss. He's always got an opinion. It's what we love about Bossy. But long story short, he said that despite the fact he's had a lot of success on 3-year-olds in the Doncaster over the last 15 to 20 years, he essentially said this year's crop aren't that good. So that's going to be our yay or nay segment. So yay or nay, boys? Bossy was right about the 3-year-olds being no good.
Nay.
Yay.
Okay. Now, Lammy, who would like to go first, by the way?
I'll go first because I think my argument's probably not great.
So you're arguing that they are good despite the fact you were potting the Australia Guineas about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, different race though. Apples and oranges, anyway. Fitzy.
Carry on.
Firstly, Brutal won it in 2019, so you don't have to be a star to win it. I think both Maunga and Aegon are better horses than Brutal, and both have, I think, a favourable racing style for the Doncaster, where you often see horses right across the Randwick track. It's a great race, the Donny. It's always a good spectacle. I wasn't super impressed by Maunga's win the other day, but he strikes me as more of a miler. He's a better horse when he's cuddled up for as long as possible, and then he can unleash late when he gets a little split. He had to make a pretty long, wide run in the Rosehill Guineas and had probably had enough on the line. So I think going to the Donny, over the Derby is the way to go. And Aegon, the 3-year-old in the market, he's put in one ordinary run in 6 starts, and that was his first go on a firm track. If we get a bit of give in the ground for Doncaster today, and look, Sydney hasn't rained there for a couple of days, so they're due for another downpour. I reckon he can bounce back if there's a little bit of cushion. His first up win in Australia was outstanding, and he beat Amaralina 3-back, who is unbeaten in 3 runs since. So I still think Aegon's a star. You forgive a very good horse one bad run. So I think the 3-year-olds can definitely win the Donny, and Bossy's talking a bit of smack.
Before we go into Nook, you do need to realise that Aegon had a punter's intel made about him. So
yeah, he had to carry the curse as well, which obviously doesn't help.
We saw that Isotope bounce back from that. The first run, actually, there could be something in this now I think about it. The first run back, Isotope won first up. The Golden Slipper day itself that we mozzed was a terrific day of racing. There might be something to it.
Second up.
The second up, Intel syndrome. Nook, the 3-year-olds are good. Yay.
Aren't good.
Sorry. Aren't good. Right.
So I was obviously the opposite going into the Australian Guineas. I was giving them a little rap because I was, hoping Ole Kirk could do something, but he didn't. And while I'm number 1 ticket holder in the Moonga fan club now, I've got to side with Group 1 Bossy. I think he's right. They're just taking it in turns. We're not seeing a standout 3-year-old this season. They're each finding one of their races to win, but not kicking on after it. And look, we talked about Brutal just before. So his start prior to the Doncaster, he finished second in a race behind a reasonably handy horse, I guess you could say, in Winks. And that's the difference I think we're seeing this year. We're not seeing the 3-year-olds be able to take on the older horses and win or perform well. With maybe, there's an exception or two there. I think September runs obviously putting a couple of decent performances, but that's over the sprinting trip. So looking towards the Doncaster Mile, I'd have to be in Bossy's corner as much as I'd like Moonga to do well. Older horses and right now, Mugatoo, what are we, a week and a bit out from the race, but he's going to be hard to toss.
Can I just quickly jump in? Second to Winks is not necessarily a great form reference. If I give you some of these names, look. Dibiani, Sons of John.
Don't knock Sons of John.
Ungrateful Ellen. Red Excitement. Huraki. The Squetty Spirit. Ventura Storm. Do I need to go on?
You can go on if you want.
I mean, Gallo Chop was handy, but Invictus Prince,
Brutal
Youngstar.
put three lengths on Dream Force in that race. Sosie Bond was in there. No match for him.
Easy. When you're dropping Sosie Bond, you're desperate.
Geez, that's a good argument, James. I like the fact you came back ready. I'm giving it to you, James, based on the fact that you rebutted his rebuttal with facts. That's preparation. That's good. You're getting the points today, James. Well done.
Thank you.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, it wasn't preparation. I just opened up Winks's horse profile page.
Don't admit
I'll
that.
take
I was
it.
actually, speaking of preparation, I went and I've looked up the History Channel website while you blokes were arguing away. I was listening, but the History Channel, I nearly got it right. I apologise. January 1st was the Gregorian calendar New Year. The previous calendar New Year was April 1st. So people who were celebrating New Year on April 1st were deemed to be April Fools. That was it. But I was somewhat correct, lads.
Just got to
Somewhat.
got to also question how much you're taking in of our arguments here.
I did hear James rebut reasonably strongly. So, no, look, I was leaning towards you there, Nook, but James's rebuttal of the rebuttal where he's come back with well-prepared facts. You can claim you opened up a tab, but I'm going with well-prepared facts. It's well done, James. Take the chocolates there.
I'll take the win. Bank another 4 points.
Speaking of wins, post-race experts. We got a bumper edition this week, or are we a little bit meeker?
Somewhere in the middle. Not meek, but not a bumper. Fairly run of the mill.
Am I right in thinking that a reasonably big racing name might fit in the votes this week?
Reasonably big, yeah.
Someone that hits reasonably close to home.
Might get the 3 this week, potentially.
Ooh. Well, I look forward to this based on that alone. So with no further ado, James, a segment that stops the world, post-race experts. Take it away.
Righto. John Walter at J_Walter23. This is an honourable mention. We've discussed it on this show previously. He's a jockey manager. It's murky areas. He can't tweet pre-race when he has a rider engaged in that race. But he did get a lot of nominations for this, so it's worth mentioning. This was after the slipper. Why J-Mac got off it will go down as one of the great mysteries of the world. # stay inside. So J-Mac, of course, rode, stay inside, jumped off, stay inside, won the slipper quite comfortably. Just an honourable mention there because John does manage Tim Clark, who was riding in the race, but he still chimed in after the fact.
He did chime in. I do remember doing up an article about J-Mac had committed to stay inside as well before he actually jumped off. So interesting. Anyway,
he does make a pretty solid point, though. It was a bit strange. One vote, Mickey Conway at No Luck Mickey. This was after Eduardo won the Galaxy. Not just won the Galaxy, shat in the Galaxy. And Brad Miller tweeted, "Times don't lie. Eduardo has belted them." Mickey replied with, "How was it those odds after breaking the track record last start? I got $7. Madness." So, how did they bet that for Mickey?
Yep, and self-insertion.
2 votes. Robbie Grego at Robbie G9. We punters tweeted about the Ranvet, which was won by Very Elegant after a stirring duel with a Day. It was a great race. And Robbie replied to the tweet with, "A Dabe first up was always the lay of the day. Just kept watching Very Elegant keep drifting and went bang."
So the fact that he won first up in the same race last year obviously was lay-worthy.
Not just lay-worthy, lay of the day.
Bang.
So
Bang.
2 votes for Robbie Grego. It's a good name.
That is good. Yep, absolutely.
3 votes this week. Ben Dorries at Ben Dorries 76. RaceNet Journo can certainly
more water out.
Can certainly break a big story, but he's also broken punting protocol here, Jack.
Oh boy.
Ben was on Radio TAB earlier this week talking about Vanna Girl. Now, keep in mind that Ben doesn't tip for RaceNet. He's not a tipster, and he didn't put any Vanna Girl-related tweets out pre-race. So let's have a listen to what Ben had to say.
I followed Flux to the ends of the earth up until a few years ago, but I just think these days I watch so many horses drift markedly and win, or firm markedly and don't win. I just think, to be honest, in this day and age, the big boys and girls, they move the price, don't they, so significantly. And yes, maybe they have an edge, a bit of an edge, over the average punter like, me or the punter in the street. They certainly do. They do a lot of form. But does that mean they're always right? Of course it doesn't. And look, in retrospect, I know it's easier to say in retrospect, but I mean, if Vanna Girl was 50% right, she should have lapped those horses on the weekend, which she did, and you were getting $3.70 in the end. I mean, that's quite incredible.
So if you couldn't quite hear the audio there, if Vanna Girl was 50% right, she should have lapped those horses on the weekend, which she did. And you were getting $3.70 in the end. Quite incredible. So,
and I think it almost occurred to him as he said it. I think the word vomit came out in retrospect. And it's always easy in retrospect. The panic set in, I reckon, the moment those words came out, but he couldn't stop himself.
No, he couldn't stop the pre. So, yeah, bit of how did they bet that from Benny. So Vanna Girl, for what it's worth, went from a low of 240 out to 370, by the way, and got Mr. Dorries 3 post-race expert votes in the process.
That's pretty strong. Big name. Hard to argue. Conclusive proof. Good stuff, James Lamb.
That one only came across my desk quite late in the piece too, thanks to a member of this show. So thank you for slipping that one to me. It's a pretty lean segment without that one.
You're going to out who the sender was?
May have been a young Tasmanian lad who doesn't mind the old flannelette shirt from time to time.
Well, I can confirm that it's not me, so
Yes.
probably leaves us with
There
one
you
other
go.
unless you hunted it down yourself.
Process of elimination.
That's we're going to be allowed to air with that. I'm a bit concerned of what the repercussions might be.
He'll be right. Not sure he
Friends over
listens to
at
the show
Race
anyway. So
He's got a full wallet, so he's not going to worry about it.
yeah.
Well, he does after the quite incredible $3.70 that was available for a horse that lapped her opposition. No, that's good, Lamb. Well done. Strong start to the show by you. That's a good post race, and you've delivered the April Fool's stuff. You can probably knock off now for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I might take a breather now and listen to a few winners from the Nook.
I like that a lot. Look, we're going to take a break here and hold all tickets. We'll come back to you and we'll get into your preview of Tancred Stakes Day. And we're back here on Hold All Tickets for punters.com.au. Now, Nook, it's 2 Group 1s again to look forward to in Sydney. Now, the Punters Predictor available on every Australian race every day across the website and app. You can use that, plug in the form factors that are important to you, and we'll spit out the most likely winner. But there's no need because the Nook in Sydney. Now, Nook, firstly, well done. Runner by runner last week, you found Eduardo, who we did say half facetiously, but you did have him on top that if his name was Nature Strip, he would have been $2 last week.
He was. I think it was Mickey in the post-race experts there. He was spot on. $7. What a steal.
Nice little pat on the back without patting yourself on the back there, Nook. Now, speaking of runner by runners, we've done the Tancred Stakes runner by runner. We won't go completely into it, but am I right in thinking you've bought your own material for this week's show?
Yeah, done a little bit of homework for once for the podcast, which is very rare. But as you mentioned, we won't go too in-depth here. We've got the runner by runner preview up. I am keen on Mirage Dancer each way. Its runs in Sydney have been pretty good, but there is a fascinating runner, of course, in the race with the Cox Plate winner, Sir Dragonet. Now, he was very, very good there last week in the Group 1. Ramvet behind Very Elegant, finished fourth, only beaten 2.3 lengths. So a sign that he's on his way to getting back to his best. And look, Dave Eustace was on radio, I think it was on Wednesday, talking about his chances this week. And if you listen to this, you'd be pretty confident going into the weekend. So we'll just take a listen to him on RSN.
He wasn't stopping at the line, and I thought a mile and a half was really what he was looking for now, particularly if we're going to get top of the ground. I think there's been a lot of talk about the ground. I don't think it's necessarily essential. He just needs to race over a trip. You know, his run in the Melbourne Cup had a lot of merit. I don't think you could say he raced below par, and it was quick ground that day. So looking forward to him going to 24.
So there he was talking about obviously getting up to 2,400 in the Tancred, but most importantly, the fact he's going to face a firm track. His best runs have seemingly come on soft surfaces, but he's saying don't worry about that. There's been some talk about he's no good on a good track, but don't worry about that. Now, where has this talk come from that he's no good on firm tracks? Well, this was Glenn Boss on the same radio station just the day prior.
Well, there is an option to run. He's nominated to run, but once again, if we get really good weather and we get to a good three up here, I don't think I don't think he should run because his record said he's no good on good tracks. Simple as that. And these colts, he's a valuable colt, and you just can't have him run around on tracks that are unsuitable. I know, and people might say, boo-hoo-hoo, but the simple fact of it is that his record is 5 for 1/3, I think, on firm tracks, 5 starts, and you just don't. Why would you bother running if you know that the result before you even go out?
So there you go. He was a little bit stronger there, Glenn Boss, which he's very good, as we mentioned earlier, with his opinions. He's certainly not too confident if it's a good track there on Saturday. So just a question to you boys. Do you think the Cox Plate winner can feature this week if it is a firm surface?
No, I'm with Bossy. I think, Eustace would certainly know a hell of a lot more than I do, but based on what we've seen so far, he just looks an out-and-out wet tracker.
Fitzy?
I think he can because it's not as good a race. We heard in the lead up to his first up run where he was, let's be honest, utterly awful, that he wouldn't run if it was an ordinary track. And then it got to, what was it, a good 4 or a good 3 or something. It upgraded it anyway, and he still ran. For me, that is confidence from the trainers that he doesn't need it wet. And the point that maybe he just needs ground, there might be merit to it. He gets the ground on the weekend. The Melbourne Cup, I thought he ran pretty well in the Melbourne Cup. He finished off reasonably strongly, and that was a dry track. So, look, maybe it is more about just the fact he needs some distance. And once you're getting up to, say, 2,000, for example, of last year's Cox Plate, the way the track was, it was more like a 2,400-metre race. Maybe that's what helped him in that regard. It is interesting, the discussion of who do you listen to more, the trainer or the jockey. When I first started following racing, I'll be honest, I would hear that trainers would give jockeys feedback, and I couldn't believe that. I thought jockeys would be the be-all and end-all, and obviously now I understand a bit more, and the jockeys, the trainers have a good idea. Who would you listen to, though? If you could only listen to one, who would you be putting your money on?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I think it's a good reminder to, well, you can get some helpful snippets out of the interviews. At the end of the day, you should just make up your own mind. But look, gut feel would be normally the trainers. But
yeah, I reckon trainers, when it comes to maybe a horse's ideal distance or ground, but when it comes to perhaps gear changes, I think jockeys are probably the ones who would know best. They're actually riding the horse and have a feel for the horse. And but yeah, it's an interesting question, Fitzy.
Probably just whoever I agree with is probably who I'll go with. To answer your question though, Nook, yes, I think he can feature if he runs. He's the best performed horse in that track, arguably along with Melody Bell. He's drawn a perfect gate. Yeah, I don't even think he has to handle it, to be honest. If he runs, he's probably just better than him. I know he hasn't been great in his last 3, but last week, what was it, 2.5 lengths off Very Elegant in a day? But that's pretty good. Admittedly, Angel of Truth did finish ahead of him. And
I do hope he does run because it's, I think it's been spoken a fair bit that it's not a vintage field, so a little bit of class, but from a selfish point of view, you'd take a bit of deductions for Mirage Dancer. So hopefully he's there.
So I personally think he's a better horse than Mirage Dancer. I do. But we'll find out on Saturday. Anyway, best bet of the card. Am I right in thinking that comes up in the other Group 1 on the card, Nook?
It is just a lazy way for me to speak about the other Group 1 on the card and get my best bet out of the way. But no, pretty confident with this horse, Harmony Rose for Mark Newnham. So she comes through the Randwick Guineas form line now. I know Lions Roar and Moonga ran on from behind her, but I really like the way she kept finding to the line and on breeding as well. You just suggest that she's going to lap up the 2,000 metres. So it's certainly got some good rivals here with the Oaks winner and Hungry Hearts back in form and gets a dry track. But I'm a big fan of Harmony Rose, and I think from barrier 1 she'll be right up on the speed and be very hard to beat.
So best bet of the day, Harmony Rose in the Vinery. Now, the punters predictor picks yesterday was very strong on Personal, and it wasn't until I actually wrote that up and I realised how good and consistent Personal's been right throughout her career. Placed in a Blue Diamond, placed in 1,000 Guineas, won an Oaks. That's pretty good going. We know that she's going to be strong through 2,000 metres. Third up, you'd think she peaks now. Group 1 at 2,000 weight for age, or set weights, I should say. Her last third up run, she placed in 1,000 Guineas. Willing to take a little side bet with me, considering you can get about 2.5 to 3 times the odds on Personal?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd offered you one last week with Very Elegant versus Dabe, and you didn't want to take that one. So
it was smart. But this week I'm happy to jump on here.
Is it just head to head, or does Fitzy get a little Head start.
Give him
handicap.
a long neck if he needs it.
Long neck.
I've already got one of them.
Jack Fitzpatrick, long neck.
I've got a long neck. I don't need another one. Shout out to Jimmy Ledger, by the way, who's really up and about with me, a resident Perth tipster who is a great rival of mine in a long neck stake, so I can give you the odd tip. So. But anyway, back to this. Were you going to give me a margin, or are you going to go head to head and give me odds?
Yeah, 0.3, is that enough, or do you want more?
I think 0.3 is fair.
I'd say half a length would
as
be
an
fair.
impartial.
I'd say half a length.
So 0.4 then.
0.4 it is.
So, yeah, okay. What's the side bet? Where are we at? I think
I don't know.
owe people something. I know that I was ahead last year and then just went backwards at a rate of knots. So I'm probably in debt, to be honest. But 6-pack?
Yep.
Burger when we get back in the office? Something along those lines?
Yeah, 6-pack will do.
Okay. James, bear witness to it.
Done.
Thank you very much. Nook, your next best on the card, please.
Next best is in race 5, California Zimble, who got the job done there first up at Group 3 level. She does go up a little bit in the weights, but she's 3 wins from 4 starts, second up. I think her only miss might have been in her first prep. 2 from 2 at the track. Barrier 5, beautiful map for her. Just off the speed, so yeah, just a fair bit to like about her here. I think around the $4.20 mark to make it 2 for 2 this campaign.
Pretty nice race, that. You've got some pretty talented horses in it.
It is, and a few with a couple of little question marks. I actually like Sinor Fox in this race as well. Does trial well, but just needs luck, and from barrier 1 gets back, and so prefer to take California Zimble, who we know will get a nice run.
Outback Barbie, # Queensland represent. She was nice in the Gold Coast. Golan's flying in Sydney Isotope last week. Crone, Group 1 and Group 2.
Can run on.
No chance for the Queenslander?
But winning has been an issue for her.
Yeah, no, it certainly has. But I don't know. QF, mate, might be the right form.
It's showing up a bit this campaign.
It is a little bit. No, thank you for that. And your best value?
So the best value will be Mirage Dancer officially, but won at a bit better odds in the last race of the day is Cliff's Art. I think around the $20 mark.
I reckon you've tipped Cliffy on here before.
Tipped Cliffy last time for a nice 11 of 13. Now, that wasn't pretty from Cliffy, but it wasn't a pretty ride either. Tim Clark just wanted a midfield position on that occasion, so took his chances, and that chance didn't pay off, and sat there about 4 wide, I think, and dropped out as expected. Now, unfortunately, the barrier draw's been unkind again, drawn right out. But look, she's been back to the trials and ran on really well, so I just expect this time they might just bite the bullet and ride her cold. There looks to be decent pace here, and she can finish off nicely and hopefully be in the placings at a big price.
Speaking of big prices, Milkman at $126 looks over the odds.
You can take Milky.
I don't know if he can win, but it does look
Tommy
over the
Mark
odds
went in
anyway.
the saddle. That helps.
He won, what was it, 3 starts ago? Reasonably consistent. He was a bit of a milk drinker before winning last prep. But anyway, I want to ask you about one horse on the card, if I may, Nook.
Fire away.
Master of Wine. If he doesn't win this week, where to? Burren beat?
Yeah, if he doesn't get this race, I mean, look, every race he's started since his last victory over a year ago has been Group 1 company. So a little bit of an out for him there. He does like the sting out of the ground, which you won't get. But in saying that, he ran well in a couple of races in the Melbourne Spring on firm footing. So I don't think that's a big enough excuse for him here. He should be winning on Tonte. He'll lead him up and give some sort of a sight. And then you got Shared Ambition, who has been a little bit frustrating, albeit a winner first up this campaign as well. But yeah, just 2.5 kilos off the minimum here. If Master of Wine can't win this, I'm not sure where they go.
Set weights and penalties, correct me if I'm wrong, over 2,000 metres. Last time he was at a set weights and penalties over 2,000 was a dry track at Flemington, a length off Very Elegant when she won the Turnbull.
Yeah, I mean, and as you look last week, looked only a fair run, but he's 4.2 off Very Elegant, and the horse I've got is his main danger on Tonde comes out of a listed Albury Cup. So it's fairly different lead-in form lines, but yet I can't give him a massive. Well, I couldn't go chips in on him, but he should be getting the job done.
I can and I will. You'll have a very stroppy Fitzy on Saturday afternoon if Master of Wine gets beat. I'll give you that tip. Anything else on the card, or are you happy to leave it there, Nook?
Happy to leave it there.
Lammy, we're coming to you. We've got away from a couple of standalone meetings in Victoria, and we're back at Caulfield for fields of about 8,000 per race.
Yeah, it's a strong card, but geez, it's tough. There's a lot of races where you could probably have 5 or 6 cracks at it, Fitzy, and still miss. But yeah, hopefully we can get a couple of winners at decent odds. At least with the big fields, there's plenty of value on offer.
Absolutely, there is. Now, you spoke about finding a couple of winners. What's your best bet on the program?
Best bet comes up in the last, actually, so you have to wait a while. It's Shandy, race 9, number 9, $3.80 at the moment. Just think she's a horse on the up. She made massive strides last campaign, went from a benchmark 64 to the Group 3 Naturalism. She didn't run well in the Naturalism, but pulled up lame, so there are excuses there. First up performance was terrific. She was back on the inside of horses in a pretty awkward spot. Well, I mean, she looked to be travelling, but just couldn't get out. And then when the gap presented, just sprinted really quickly and savaged the line. I think she can improve second up. It was a big winner second up last campaign, and I don't think it's an overly deep race, and she maps for a nice run. Barrier 2, as long as Lanes can sort of keep her off the fence and keep her one off, and she's got plenty of time to wind up, I think she'll be too strong for these. So I was pretty confident with Shandy on a tough card.
Okay, in the last, you'll be popular if you can get that one up. Re-edit. I reckon you had it at a massive price first up last prep, and it was arguably a moral beating. You didn't want to go back to the well?
I didn't, but I have got re-edit as the danger. It only won 1 from 4 last campaign, but with a bit of extra luck, it could easily have won 3 from 4. It had a really good prep. It just has that pattern where it seems to find a bit of trouble, but pretty important gear change for re-edit. Jamie Carr, first time.
Yes. Indeed. She's a star, isn't she? There's no doubt. 100
for
wins,
those playing,
100 Metro wins.
Yeah, for those playing quaddies, I'd be pretty confident, excuse me, coming home with just Shandy and re-edit.
Okay.
Those two.
Nice one there. For the quaddie players, your next best on the program?
Yeah, I was going to go with Naj Marty as my next best, but I mean, it's a little bit short. So I thought I'd go race 2, number 2, Melba Storm, which is around the $7 mark. Just think it's a great each way bet at the very least. From barrier 3, it'll settle just off the leaders in a race where doesn't appear to be a heap of speed engaged. She beat Little Stevie 2 back, who's been good in 2 runs since. I think Little Stevie won last start, and then Busselton and Young took Melba Storm to Adelaide last start, and she defeated the in-form Outlaws Revenge, and they put an absolute space on the rest, which is always good to see. So I think Melba Storm can continue its good form. 4 wins from 9 and minor placing, so it's pretty consistent as well.
Gee, $7 is a nice bet for you, nice price for your next best there, James. What about your value? I'm looking forward to that if you got $7 as one of your best.
Yeah, best value is a horse that I've tipped quite a few times, to be honest.
Oh boy.
It's been pretty good to me over the journey. Race 6, number 4, Sword of Mercy. There's absolutely speed to burn in this 1,000-metre race. You've got Sartorial Splendor, Barrier 1, and Alpha Oro. I did it for love. There should be a lot of speed early on. I think Sartorial Splendor will hold them out, which means that Alpha Oro probably has to sit outside the leader as a $2.80 favourite. So I'm hoping that the leaders go at each other and Sword of Mercy can come over the top of them. We're getting $2.40 the place. So I think 1x3 is the way to go. Yet to miss a place in 5 runs over this distance and was only 1 length off the winner in the Group 1 Oakley Plate last start. So I think that's good enough form to be going very close in a race like this, Fitzy. So yeah, 1x3, Sword of Mercy.
Hard to argue with you there, James.
Yeah, it's a pretty fascinating race, actually. Native Soldier returns from just about a 3-year absence. Yeah, you've got Octane as well, who can certainly show up on its day. So there's a few chances there, but I just thought there was enough speed in the race to maybe take on the favourite a little bit.
Okay, I like it a lot. That might be a lead into a segment we've got a little bit later on. Anything else you'd like to cover on the card, though?
I don't think so. No.
Easter Cup.
Oh, the Easter Cup. Yeah, I probably should mention that, given it's the feature race. I've gone with Passan. I'd be a hell of a lot more confident if it didn't draw the car park. It might not matter. It's obviously a very good horse, and its first up win was excellent. I actually thought it would need the run first up, and it proved me wrong. It won very well, and you'd have to think that it would strip Fitter second up over the same distance. Interesting stat. McNeil has ridden this horse 8 times, 5 wins and 3 seconds. Didn't ride.
Okay.
Yeah, it jumps back on Saturday.
Rode the winner of the Melbourne Cup, of course, which Passan rode so well in too.
Yes. I think it's easily the best horse in the race. I just worry about where it's going to end up. Huge field, drawn out. Could be spotting them too much of a start, or maybe McNeil will go forward and find a nice spot. But yeah, it's a tricky barrier.
Tricky barrier, yes. A lot of internationals in this race, including Constantinople, who came over here with a massive boom, ran really well in a Caulfield Cup first up.
I think
off that,
our old mate Rawlser Flanagan tipped it to win every Group 1 in Australia just about, but it hasn't quite gone on with it.
I think he almost started favourite in a Melbourne Cup, or he was certainly in the market off the back of that Caulfield Cup. Has been awful since. $126. Could I entertain you if you found a $5 note on the ground?
I wouldn't have thought so. No.
Nook?
I'd rather buy a pot.
Yeah, I'd be keeping that $5.
Really? Well, I can't really make a case for it. Look, he did beat Buckhurst in the Group 3 back home over this distance, and he's got some good form back
another
home.
lifetime, Jack.
Just you wonder who might have put it together. You never know. $126. I might be willing to find out. Have a $2.50 each way bet and just scream in your face if it wins.
There's certainly some heavy hitters in that ownership, wouldn't he? He didn't come cheap, of course.
No.
Yeah, the fact that he's still with Lindsay Park, I guess he might have improved over the break.
It was stablemate that, what was it, a trip to Perth, ended up winning the Perth Cup, Nerf Bosk. Very similar to that, actually, in many ways. Anyway, I just thought I'd ask you. Happy to leave it there for Caulfield, and we'll come back with both of your $100 betting plays and your lays at the end of the show. How does that sound, boys?
Sounds terrific.
Time for a break here on Hold All Tickets. We're back here on Hold All Tickets, and boys, you know it's good feedback when your sound producer asks you to wrap the show up in the little break that we had there. We must be going really well. Real entertaining areas that we've offered up here on this week's episode.
It's pretty direct.
The gong.
Gong in red.
Might have to get a new head-to-head, Constantinople's and to Hold All Tickets finale. It could be a similar finish at this rate, boys. That wasn't great. So let's not muck around. We've been given the hurry up. I just looked at the time. It's only been 45 minutes as well. We normally go off into the hour. And anyway,
wrap it up.
I'll move on. It's not that
you're taking up valuable time here. Get on with it.
A couple of winners at Queensland before we finish with the lays segment. Now, boys, I haven't quite got the preview out yet for Queensland. 3 best bets. Bit of confidence up there. I couldn't split them.
Greedy bastard.
Guilty. Well, I'll be a genius if they win. Race 2, number 2, Joy Maker. Undefeated on the Eagle Farm 2200. Bolted in last start. That was 2 weeks ago. Now, does go up 3 kilos, but I don't think anything that finished behind Joy Maker can beat it. The new blood is Picaro from New South Wales. We know that those New South Wales horses can go okay, but pretty keen. Joy Maker, race 2, number 2. Race 3, number 8, Clearance Sale. Now, this horse has been scratched from just about every race in the last fortnight. It's been scratched from meetings here, there, and everywhere. So I think it was last Saturday, on Wednesday, and he's also nominated for Doomben on Monday, Easter Monday racing. Clearance Sale has been scratched from all of them nominated. I just think they're looking for the right race. Form from last prep reads really, really well behind Shooting for Gold and Mass Destruction. 2 starts at Eagle Farm for a win in the second. Michael Rod, barrier 4. Really like the chance of clearance sale. So race 3, number 8 there. And towards the end of the day, race 7, number 2. Really, really keen to back Ren's Day. I've got it a race in 2. Ren's Day versus She's the Boss. Now, She's the Boss was my best bet a couple of weeks ago and saluted. Ren's Day won on the same day, same distance, so same track. Overall time, almost identical. Ren's Day a little bit slower, but Ren's Day's last 600 came back about 3 lengths quicker. He drops 3 kilos from that performance. She's a Boss, stays at the same weight. Might be half kilo difference, sorry, but very similar there. And Ren's Day was meant to be in the race that Vanagirl won last week before connections were told after the race that he would have got lapped. So happy to be with Ren's Day, race 7, number 2. Best value, not an overly strong case, but the last race, number 8, Iconic Star, I had 4 horses to put in the quaddie, including this one. Going back, it's won a race at the Valley over 1,000 metres, beating Sansom, who's reasonably handy. And I just think the form from that, considering it's going up to a good but not brilliant race at Doomben, Eagle Farm, I beg your pardon. I just think at $20 plus, you're probably going to get a nice run for your money. So race 9, number 8, Iconic Star, each way, getting about $26 at the moment. As I said, first up record, not too bad. Has had 2 trials. First up, 1 win, and the third from 4 starts. So throw at the stumps. The other 3 I've got in the quaddie in the market, but this one might just be even a 1x3. And they're my tips up at Eagle Farm this Saturday, boys.
Very good, very succinct.
Thank you. Speaking of succinct, our new segment, which I want to call Get Laid, I think it's a great name, article will be out on punters.com.au later this week, but we're giving ourselves a challenge to get a favourite beaten across our respective jurisdictions. So it has to be at the race we're previewing or the meeting we're previewing, and they have to be favourite at the time of writing. Other than that, no rules around it. So, Nook, would you like to lead us off? You've got Group 1 racing.
Well, I didn't know they were the rules, so I've gone against them. There was a favourite I was contemplating, but it was about 420, so I thought it was a bit long. So I'm actually laying one to place.
Oh, that'll do.
That'll do. So in the feature in the Tancred, I'll lay Spirit Ridge to place at $2.90. Done nothing wrong since being in Australia, hasn't finished outside the top 2, but I just think as it's progressed through the grades, it's been well weighted. Now goes to weight for aid, so I'll take him on this week.
Okay, thank you very much. Nook, Lammy?
Yeah, I'm taking on Agreeable in race 2 at Caulfield. Race 2, number 4. Look, Friedman's Jamie Carr. It's probably not a great recipe for a lay, but got it as the 3rd pick behind Melba Storm and Incredulous Dream. She has a touch of class, but she's a slow starter. Doesn't really give herself every chance. And while her first up run looked good visually, the 2 horses that beat her home, Palace Whisper and Ornamental Lady, have both been very ordinary since. So I'm happy to say that Agreeable will hopefully get too far back and give them too much of a start.
I reckon I backed her in my futures article to win the 1,000 guineas. So
yeah, I think
fair to say I got that one wrong. Anyway, lay in the first at Eagle Farm. Now, 6-horse field, and I'm laying the favourite, so this is risky. $3. Secret Tales, one last start by 18 lengths.
So it didn't win by enough for you?
No, quite a disappointing performance, to be honest. Didn't quite catch the eye. I think that's the spirit of the game, though, isn't it? It won by 18 lengths, and I'm laying it at its next start.
Lay.
It's currently the $2.90 favourite. Now, not a typo, the 18 lengths. It was, I think, the biggest winning margin in Gold Coast history, which is some effort. I'm not saying she can't win, but I'm going to take her on because the horses she beat, their form is horrific. Let me just quickly go through this. Second, Sockham Sid had been beaten 4.5 and 2.9 in the only other 2 starts. Third, Attagirl had never placed in 6 starts prior and was 6 lengths from the winner at the start before. Fourth, Delta Miss had an average losing margin of more than 14 lengths. And fifth, No More Red was beaten 13.45 at its only other start. So it didn't exactly race Winks and Black Caviar. Might be able to put it together, but did start in the market on debut and only managed sixth. That was an average maiden at Eagle Farm behind a horse called Startontes, who's not a bad youngster, but yeah, willing to lay it. Secret Tales in the first at Eagle Farm.
I like the plum girth, Jack. Ballsy.
Between Master of Wine early on Saturday and Secret Tales potentially winning early on Saturday, it could be a long shift on Saturday afternoon.
I'm not
boys.
working on Saturday, but I hope whoever is working has the Fitzy funeral gif at the ready in case Secret Tales gets up.
And Secret Tales wins into Master of Wine getting rolled. That could be a tough start to the day. A really tough start to the day.
That's good.
That's
I like it.
Yeah, I don't think
about it, boys.
I don't think we'll see a better lay than that coming off an 18 length win.
If we get it up,
before we wrap things up, we need to quickly go through our $100 betting strategy.
Yeah, you're right. Good point. Sorry, the pressure from our sound man, Barb's trying to wrap us up. I can actually see him in the bottom corner of the screen twirling his fingers as to say wrap it up. But $100 betting strategy, boys.
I'll go first. 15 by 35 on Sword of Mercy at Caulfield and 50 on Shandy in the last Get Out Stakes.
Nook.
$50 on Harmony Rose, 30 on Mirage Dancer, and we'll put 20 on that multi to get me back in the race against you, Fitzy.
That'll do. I'm just going to go $100 on Joymaker to win. Loves the Eagle Farm 2200. Race 2, number 2, Joymaker Eagle Farm. Hopefully, if Secret Tales wins the first, it might get me back in a good mood after that.
Very good.
That's about time to wrap it up. Barbs is probably off. He's asleep by now, I think, but it was close enough to wrapping up the show, wasn't it?
Yeah, hopefully a couple of listeners have got to the end. Our sound man didn't, but anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll live. We'll be stronger for it. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy Easter to everyone out there.
Didn't go that long.
Really gone. Really. Yeah, I'm coming. So is Christmas. That's real good. Happy Easter to all those out there. Wishing you all the very best and to stay safe on your the long weekend if you're spending it with family and loved ones and friends. And of course, if it's not something you celebrate, then just punt and have a win. That's pretty much all I've got to say. I don't think I can recover from my Merry Christmas gap. So anyone else want to close it out?
No, that'll do us, I think. Merry Christmas all.
Go out on a high, I reckon.
Yeah, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Speak to you in 2022.